Starts here.
Hey now, coming to you live. It's the Daily Ticket, Sean Brace. And joining the party, ladies and gentlemen. Great to have this guy on again. A lot to discuss in the world of sports, specifically here in our backyard. Kyle Fisher. Kyle, good afternoon. How are we doing today, sir?
Doing great, Sean. How about yourself, man?
Oh, another day in paradise. Did I tell you where I was yesterday? Did I actually text you and say, hey, man, I apologize for not getting back to you because I am. Yeah, you sent me a text message. As always, greatly appreciate that about your availability so we can get you on this program. Number one. Number two is I was on a golf course by the name of Bayonne.
Yo, really?
Are you a golfer?
Not a big-time golfer. I enjoy it, but I'm not big enough where, like, I would ask somebody to waste a special invitation on me. You know what I mean? I'm going to be shanking everything right anyway, so you might as well save it on somebody who's going to keep a few more balls in play.
That was me anyways. So we can fit right in. Come on, I'm not here to lie about that. But ultimately, I got the invite. The great Moose from Swinging and Dinging. He's coming up at 6 o'clock. You'll hear more about our excursion and then some from yesterday. But it was, that golf course is one of the best in the world. Like just the views of all things Manhattan, on the water, and the Hudson. The way it's a newer course. It was built in 2007. The way they constructed it's just in its own world. Like it was really unique, and you definitely felt special playing it. It was really cool. Just a gym, premium greens, perfect. Like just fairways. Like so nice, and what a great day it was. But Moose from Swinging and Dingle will talk more about that coming up here at 6 o'clock. But we did lose 2 holes due to rain, which was unfortunate. Oh well,
that's all right. Hey. Gorgeous views, man. You can't complain about that. I saw you share something on socials yesterday, but I assumed you were just reposting something from Swinging and Ding It. So to know that you were there, man, that's pretty special. Good for you.
Yeah, and they cut up a video today. They put it in there, and it's funny. I'm featured in like 2 of them, and I don't know when Moose is taking these pictures or not, these videos. But unfortunately, I was all the way up on the damn side of these hills, and the shots are just pretty damn funny. But man, whatever. It was a great day on the course, and nothing beats that. For anybody that does play golf, you know exactly what I say about that. Now, let's get down to some conversations that need to be had about this Phillies squad, who have now lost 2 straight, looked ugly, have scored 1 run in 18 innings. I want to put the bullseye on Nick Castellanos for this discussion here, and I think we have talked about Casty before, and we've had some fun conversations about him and what he brings to this team. And look, I don't think that there's going to be any massive change. I think Casty is who he is, and we're going to have to live with it. But, man, this production, according to Luke Arcani, last 30 games, what is it? I read the tweet earlier. Let me pull it up here. It's been brutal for Casty. And I don't know if we should start to be looking at him in the same manner as we once did. Yeah, over his last 30 games, 3 walks, 31 strikeouts, 195 batting average, 215 on base. He is part of the nucleus that is going to determine whether this team is going to have success come playoff time or not. Or am I off on that? Are we just able to look past Nick Castellanos and his struggles? What is your 30,000 foot view of Casty right now with this Phillies team?
So the last time you and I spoke about Nick Castellanos was really back in probably end of June, early July, before the All-Star break even. And we talked about how he was having a really solid season. In June, he had turned it on a bunch. A time where we might normally expect Kyle Schwarber to be the one to take over. Well, Schwarber really took over in the early going, and Casty's slug hadn't been there early on in the season, but in June, it really turned up. I think over 40% of his extra base hits came in like a 3-week period in the month of June. So it looked like, okay, we're starting to get back to what Nick gave us all of last season. Instead, it's almost like the exact opposite of what we saw in his first year in a Phillies uniform, where it was that really, really slow start. And despite how good he got in the second half, those numbers never really looked like the impact that he was making in the second half. Well, he's had such a dreadful few months now that the numbers are starting to look like that first year. If you look at the totality, he's on pace to have the second worst season that he's had in a Phillies uniform. it has not been good. And when you're rotating a lot of outfield pieces and trying to figure things out, the question starts to become, should he be part of that rotation? Does he need a few days off to get himself right? Even if you're going to trust him every day come postseason, do you need to get him off his feet a little bit, either a DH day here and there? Do you need to have him rest a few more times than you might have in the past? He's getting older. I mean, everybody on this team is. He's getting older. He's not used to playing the outfield that much. He tries really hard out there and puts a ton of work in, but he has not been as effective in the outfield this season as the prior two. So you're seeing some of the wear and tear of him playing out there every single day, both on himself and on the defense as a whole. I think when you have as many options, especially when guys have been deployed to the proper matchups and been successful these last couple of weeks, it wouldn't hurt to have him be a little bit more involved in that mix and match. Maybe he plays a little bit more, but against a tough righty, maybe you go Kepler and Marsh both in the corners with Bader in center. Give yourself a better defensive positioning, and then obviously give Nick a little bit of rest before we get ready for this stretch run.
Yeah, look, the numbers are the numbers, right? Like, you could put anybody out there and you're going to get better production at this point in time. Then they're going to be a better right fielder as well. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Casty, I said he's not bad at playing right field. He's not. He doesn't make errors and stuff like that, but I don't really look at him as a good right fielder. I know the numbers, if you want to throw that out there, blah, blah, blah. I get that. But he's not here to play right field, because he's got a great glove. He's here specifically to hit some bombs, some power numbers, to do exactly the opposite of what he's been doing. I mean, his box score these past few games have been atrocious. I'm talking about 0 for 5, 0 for 4, 0 for 4, 0 for 4, base hit, 1 for 4. Like, you're going back almost 2 weeks to when he's had a really good game at the dish against the Detroit Tigers. Other than that, it's been brutal. As I said, 30 games now. I just, like, you have to do something, right? We said that this team needs to be aggressive at the trade deadline. They got to go out there and make moves. Okay, well, they somewhat did, and I think we're all happy with what took place, but you can't sit on your hands here either, right?
I agree. I mean, it's a lot of the numbers that I've seen have looked at the All-Star break. His slash line is like 195, 224 on base with a 317 slugging percentage. But if you go back even a week and a half before that, if you go back to the beginning of July, he has a 192, 216, 315 slug. That's a 532 OPS. That's not getting it done for an everyday player. That is literally the reason why some of these other guys have found themselves into platoons, because they're putting up numbers like that. And I know that Nick is paid like a superstar, and he has the history of being a superstar and being an everyday player, but that doesn't last forever for some guys. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't have to last forever for him for the rest of the season, but maybe he needs a little bit of a break, and he'll tell you that he doesn't. And Rob Thompson will tell you that he doesn't. But you know who else doesn't feel like they need a break? Max Kepler. And when they started to deploy him in advantageous situations, he's shown up the last couple of weeks. You know who will tell you that he doesn't need a break? Brandon Marsh. But he's having one of the best seasons of his career, and he mostly plays against right-handers. He's being deployed in the correct situations. Bryson Stott will tell you that he's an everyday player. But Edmundo Sosa will tell you the same, and neither guy has been able to prove it. When they work together, they both have success. Sometimes you need to do these things that make your team a little uncomfortable for them to then become comfortable, if that makes sense.
Oh, well said. I couldn't agree more with you. And Marsh, to your point, it's crazy because remember how bad he was to start the season and what he's been able to do to turn it around. And especially in these last 2 weeks, man, power numbers, hitting bombs, 4 for 4 in that one game. I've been really impressed with Brandon Marsh. So we'll see. He's back in the lineup today. Again, these managers aren't going to change. We know how they operate. But if we're talking about winning a World Series, I don't believe that Castellanos is all of a sudden going to change at the plate as far as his offensive numbers are concerned. And all of a sudden he's going to find his stroke and rhythm. I hope he does. I just don't believe that's going to be the case. I mean, he could still be a great clubhouse guy, just riding the bench, But
Sean, you know me too. I'm not a big, let's make a drastic move for the sake of making a drastic move type of guy.
You're very
I just think that
I press you to make those.
Yes, you do. But sometimes you need to be real with yourself. And if I'm going through this much of a lull, he's always been a guy who's like, just put me out there. I'm working through it. Just put me out there. I'm working through it.
Yeah.
But that's easy to do when you struggle to start the year and it's June and we have 3 months left. But if in 2 weeks you're still struggling, I'm not saying that means you're in a bench role for the rest of the season, but maybe we give you a couple days off a week, 1 or 2 at the most. You're mostly an everyday player. You still play against righties. You still play against lefties. You're the veteran. We understand what you mean out there. So we keep putting you out there, but we give you a little bit of a break so you can take those days to really focus back up, really get yourself right, and be ready for the postseason. Like we've talked about all these changes that could potentially be made to give these starting pitchers some extra rest, or what we want to do to set up the bullpen to be properly rested before the season. But the number one thing that has that has been a problem for this team in the postseason these last few years is consistency in the lineup. And if you have a guy who's extremely inconsistent at the moment, you need to let him figure it out. And if that isn't coming on the field, it has to come off the field. And sometimes, again, it doesn't mean he's now the 4th outfielder in the rotation. It just means maybe Max gets a couple extra days and Nick takes a couple of days where he's just doing cage work while everybody else is working hard in the field.
And that's going to get his attention. You're right. He's going to tell you he wants to play every day. Remember, he got benched because he said as much, and him and Thompson had a little bit of a blow up. But that's professionals. Like, we know that that's going to be their answer. That's going to be the response, no matter what. Response, though, let's talk a little bit about tonight's game and whether or not the Phillies will respond down in D.C. Minus 194 for Jesus Luzardo getting the start here. 8.5, low number there. Again, both these offenses struggling, so I understand why that number is what it is. Brad Lord on the mound for the Nationals, plus 158. I don't know. I look at Harper, obviously going back to DC. It seems like he's always playing there. He's always putting up some decent numbers, always coming through. They boo him, and he makes him pay for booing him. The 25 fans that will be
and they
there,
keep doing it.
They keep doing it. Yeah, it's fun. So anything for you on tonight's game as far as prediction time here? You like Luzardo going up against the Nationals? Do you like the Phillies to get the bats going, return to form that we've seen a couple, weeks now going into that series against Cincinnati? Or do you think, what took place in Cincinnati for 2 games might carry over to DC here?
It definitely could. I mean, they're a team that plays much better at home than they do on the road, just like everybody, let's be frank. But I think that it's a place where Harper plays well. It's a place where Schwarber plays well. He's played there as a home team player in the past. I think that the biggest thing for me this weekend, and I know we'll focus on tonight, but it kind of ties into tonight, is some guys who need to either show that they are getting right or staying right are pitching this weekend against an inferior offense in the Washington Nationals. Luzardo is one of those guys. And he had a really nice bounce back start his last time out. The key for me is, can he show that he's continuing it? If we continue to have up and down every other start, he's going 3 innings one time, then 7 the next. If he's walking 4 guys one time and then walking nobody and striking out 10, that doesn't ooze confidence for me. But I want him to make it tough. Everybody's basically, because of his struggles and because how well Ranger pitched up until recently, assumed that Luzardo was going to be the guy to move to the bullpen come the postseason. I would like to see him make that a very tough decision for the Phillies. I think that if you have the Luzardo pitching even close to what he did at the beginning of the season, and Suarez continues to struggle, those roles will be reversed. And I think that he needs to go out and claim that, whether it's a personal mission. It's not a competition against Suarez, but it's like, hey, look, I'm just as good as anybody else you're going to put out there. You can trust me. And I think he needs to put a couple of them together for everybody to feel that strongly. So for me, the main thing I'm going to be watching, and I think it will happen, is Luzardo staying consistent and giving another 6 or 7 strong for the Phillies tonight.
Yeah. What's the latest with Aaron Nola? What's the latest going on there with Nola and potentially returning here to the Phils?
There is a chance that he comes back this weekend on Sunday in Washington. He's meeting the team in Washington. They have not officially announced when he'll be activated. Rob Thompson mentioned that Nola could potentially, if Suarez needs an extra day, he could potentially be the guy that they turn to on Sunday, depending on how he feels, to give Suarez an extra day and push Suarez to start to Monday. So I think we see Aaron Nola within the next week, which adds so much depth, especially if he pitches anything close to what he did in his last rehab start. I know it's AAA hitters, but 11 Ks striking out the side 3 times, that's pretty impressive stuff, regardless of what level it is. So to see him get back in that mix, and if he's pitching anything like the Nola of prior to this season, obviously if he's pitching like he did at the beginning of the year, that's a different question. But if he pitches anything close to what he has in prior years, he's reinserting himself right back in that rotation. And then you really have flexibility with the pen, mixing and matching some guys, getting some guys some extra days off as needed. They only have a few off days coming up in the next 2 weeks, so there could be a chance where you see kind of a 6-man. I don't know what they do with Wheeler, but Wheeler obviously needs some additional rest based on his last few starts, so maybe he's willing to accept it once. We know how he feels about that extra rest day, but Nola could be back Sunday. I'm probably predicting Monday. I think they want to see how he feels. Ranger's not going to be a guy who's, unless he's feeling something, which is a different conversation, he wants to take that ball every 5th day too. So we could see him as early as Sunday, but more likely Monday.
Big piece to the puzzle, man. If Aaron Nola is Aaron Nola of last year, I think we're going to breathe a little bit easier around these parts.
Yeah, if he's your third starter, all of a sudden you're feeling pretty good about that. You're going from Suarez, who looked incredible, but question mark as of late. Luzardo up and down. Probably don't want Taijuan Walker in that spot, despite how well he's pitched. If all of a sudden you have those 3 guys you can turn to in the pen late in September, early October, you're feeling pretty good about yourself.
Kyle Fisher, bang up job, killing it as always. Great to have you again tonight. Brad Lord, a rookie pitcher, 25 years young, did pitch against the Phillies back on March 30th in relief. I don't believe he had success in that spot. This guy has 10 starts on the season. Last 4 times out, pitched pretty well. I do believe that this will be a bullpen type game for the Nationals. That will be their approach. Again, they don't have anything to play for. I highly doubt they're going to let this kid go more than 6 innings, but we'll see. Again, if he's having success and the Phillies bats are dead, then he might be in there for a little extended run. But bottom line is, last time out on August the 9th against the San Francisco Giants, went 6 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts, 1 earned. Previous to that against Milwaukee, 4 2/3, gave up 6 hits, 3 earned in that one. Like I said, he's been back and forth from a reliever role to a starter throughout the course of the season, has made 39 appearances total, only 10 starts. So we'll see what happens. Again, I like Harper. That's where I would start if I was looking at some players tonight. But I'm not really holding my breath on this team, finding their stride. It could carry over, as you said. We're in a little bit of a stretch here. It's expected. I hate to say it, cliche, but when you play 162, you're going to go through lulls like this. And then you're also going to roll through hot streaks like the Milwaukee Brewers we're going to talk about in just a minute. But again, DraftKings Sportsbook have the Phillies as a pretty big favorite here at -199, 6:45 first pitch. All right, Kyle, I want to run the gauntlet with you here. We like to call it as the sports carousel. We're going to talk some football. We'll hit on that in a little bit. But big picture stuff as far as Major League Baseball. Where do you stand? We got some good storylines right now here with about 45 games left to play, 40-ish, whatever it is. So
40 high 30s, low 40s, depending on your
schedule.
Are
we in 30s? Oh, wow.
I think there's some team that have like 39 left. But.
Wow. Damn, season's flying by. So where we're at right now with the National League West, the Dodgers are out of first place, first time since April 27th. The Dodgers were supposed to run away with it this year. Kyle, of course, won it all last year. Understood. I know it's tough to repeat, so I will bet against them. I don't know who. It's pretty cloudy at this point in time, but let's focus on the West at this point in time. Do you like the Padres at this point right here in this season, as they are currently in first place? Couple games left against the Dodgers. Have you seen enough of the Padres to that they've made you a believer? Have you seen enough of the Dodgers that, some of their deficiencies are going to plague them coming down the stretch here? Where do you stand as far as the NL West conversation is concerned? Are you buying the Padres right now? We're at plus money, plus 125 to win the division.
So I'd say that while I don't think the Dodgers, the items that are plaguing them at the moment are going to be their downfall, I think that they have a lot of too much talent on that team to stay in whatever funk they seem to be in. Mookie Betts is having one of the worst seasons of his career, and it's still an impressive season for him to to assume that he won't be able to come up big when it matters most is a crazy assumption to have. That being said, the Padres had one of the best bullpens in Major League Baseball and added to it at the deadline in an alarming way. They added Mason Miller. They added one of the best arms on the market, a guy who most people assumed wasn't even on the market at the deadline. They swung big and got him in the back of that bullpen to add next to Robert Suarez and a few other guys who there was talks that the Padres may trade arms because of the arms that were in how high demand the arms were rather. I think I've seen enough from the Padres to think that they are legit and this will come down to the wire. I don't think that I've seen enough from the Dodgers to assume that the Padres have passed them for good. I think it's going to be a lot like the Mets and Phillies felt a few weeks ago where they were going back and forth. I think that if you're not putting your life savings on it, I think you're safe to bet some money on the Padres because they're a legit contender year in and year out. And this year they've added the necessary pieces to make them feel dangerous come September and into October.
I'd like to see it. They do have some good names out there. Of course, Tatis Jr. is a guy that you should tune in to watch. And they have the talent. They've been aggressive, and they have to compete with the Dodgers. So that's the reason why they need to be aggressive. And we've talked about this in previous times that they've matched up. It's a pretty good rivalry between those two teams, and it's must see TV. So I know that they're going to have some games against each other down the stretch. Definitely a series or two that we will be paying a lot of attention to and could potentially be the division on the line if it stays this close. We'll see how it shakes out. A long way to go, but the Dodgers out of first place for the first time since April. With that, let's keep it moving. Another big picture question for you here. How real are the Milwaukee Brewers, Kyle Fisher? That's where I'm at.
They're as real gets. They play a different brand of baseball than everybody else.
What do you mean?
They play your father's style of baseball. When your dad says, "Oh, where's the bunts? Where's the sac flies? Where's the hit and runs?" That's what these guys do, and it's working. They outside of Christian Yelich and Rhys Hoskins, can you name somebody on their team?
No, you got Contreras, right? Then he was
the catcher. Yeah.
I just played this game last week and I can't even remember. How about that?
And then Churio, right? That's about it. If you're tuned in, it makes sense that you still, even guys who are tuned in don't know half that team. Yeah. But like you have guys like Bryce Terang, who is like one of the unsung heroes. If you have him in fantasy, he's a gold mine for speed stats. He's going to get you doubles and he's going to get you triples and he's going to get you steals all the time. They play a very good brand of baseball. They play strong defense. They have all season long, and they really have embraced this. I don't need to be the one to deliver because I trust that the next guy will. It's a lot of get on base any way possible, advance runners any way possible, get runs across the board. Even if we manufacture one, that's one more than we had the last inning. And if they continue to do that to the effectiveness that they've had recently, there's no reason to think that they can't carry that through to the World Series. They are a real team, and they've gotten better pitching. You know, Mizorowski now has more MLB innings under his belt. They have a few other young pitchers. Brandon Woodruff has come back and been very effective. So all of a sudden, they have formed themselves. They didn't make a major move at the deadline, but they got reinforcements with the return of Woodruff, with some of these young guys, and with everybody playing as a unit. It's the thing that you always want your team to do. They've been doing it all season long. I remember there was a game, maybe I said this last week, so cut me off if I did, but there was a free game of the week. It was Mizorowski versus Skeens earlier this season. And I remember being excited, like, dude, this is going to be a shutout. The Brewers versus the Pirates and two electric arms on the mound. And they ran Skeens out of that game because it was hitting runs. It was moving runners. It was taking huge leads, steals, playing aggressive baseball, and then solid defense on the other end to keep the Pirates at bay. And they ran Skeens out of that game early. And right then, I knew, like, man, this team is legit. And they've done nothing but get better since then. So, yes, the Brewers are real. And
they just did it 2 nights ago, too. Skeens went up against them, and they ran him out pretty early in that game.
I think his ERA is like a 1.8 something versus the rest of the league and a 5 point something versus the Brewers. Like, the Brewers just own Paul Skeens because they just put the ball in play. They take what you give them instead of looking for a big shot. If the ball's pitched on the outside and he's effective at tunneling and getting everything on the outside, they're just going to hit it that way. everybody in that lineup is going to hit it that way. It's like a lineup full of slap hitters instead of a lineup full of power hitters. It's crazy.
Yeah, that manager, Pat Murphy, is pretty darn good, too. He's got their attention.
Is.
Yeah, he's
For
got their attention. Yeah, they're not a fluke. They made the playoffs last year, and if they didn't choke against the Mets, they're taking on the Phillies in that next round.
Yep.
And who knows?
Were scared. I was scared of them. I'm scared of them last year, and they're playing a better brand of ball this year.
Yep, that's fair to say. So I guess it's fair to say that you are buying the Milwaukee Brewers right 100%. Now as a World Series contender and as a team that could come out of the National League, which is a very nice price right now, to come out of the National League and represent in the Fall Classic, plus 380 for the Brewers.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought with this recent their second 10-plus game winning streak of the season, I thought maybe that number would come down, but hey, take it before it does, because that number is just going to keep getting lower and lower.
And oh, by the way, hooking people up with burgers out there, firing up the grill. Did you see that restaurant that is hooking up Milwaukee Brewers?
I did, yeah.
How are they doing it? For the third time in its history, George Webb Restaurants, have no idea what George Webb is, but you're giving me a free burger, I'm in, will make good on its promise of giving away free hamburgers, a long-standing promotion to celebrate the Brewers winning 12 games. The free burger giveaway held Wednesday from 2 to 6 p.m. at all the 23 restaurants throughout Wisconsin. Vouchers for a burger at a later date will be available at all locations starting Friday. Hungry fans, welcome, blah, 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 blah. Starting way back in the 1940s, Milwaukee was home to minor league Brewers of the old American Association. George Webb promised free burgers if the local baseball team won 17 consecutive games. The promotion dropped to 13 games by the time the Braves made Milwaukee a big league club in 53, blah, 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 blah. George Webb then changed the promotion to 12 games when the Brewers moved from Seattle in 70-87. Brewers opened up season 13 games. They gave away 170,000 burgers. Man, that's a lot of meat. A lot of meat. The Brewers accomplished the feat as I spit everywhere. Sorry. The second time in 2018, closing the regular season with 8 victories, followed by 4 playoff wins. They hooked up. I like this George Webb place. The streak led to 90,000 free burgers. How about that? Pretty cool. And you know what? I did see an interview earlier with the Brewers player, and he said they were talking about it in the clubhouse.
That's awesome. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, man. They're just like us. You know it. All right. Staying with the Major League Baseball outlook. Let's talk about the bad. And that's the New York Mets, 2-12 in their last 14. Kyle, they're a game up, I want to say, the third wild card spot. It's way too early to start focusing on that. However, the yes and no market on DraftKings Sportsbook. On the no, the Mets to miss the playoffs, plus 225. Or will they make the playoffs? Excuse me. On the no, plus 225. I think that's a worthwhile take. Just like the Brewers at plus 380. I think the Mets missing the playoffs, I like that more. Where do you stand on the Mets right now?
I mean, the thing that we thought would plague them eventually is plaguing them right now.
Yep. Finally.
Since June 13th, they have the 28th ranked ERA with a 4.99 from their starters, and they're 29th in innings pitched. They have one starter who's completed six innings since June 7th. That's David Peterson. Yes, okay, Sean Manaea and Kodai Senga haven't been the same since they've come off the injured list, but Clay Holmes hasn't recorded more than 16 outs in an inning in more than 2 months. Frankie Montas, who we thought might help them, especially that electric first start, and he had a really good start, rough starts in the minors, and then, of course, came out electric in that first start. He has a 6.38 ERA and is seemingly doomed for a bullpen role now.
Woo!
They're exactly what we thought their biggest concern was going to be. We thought there was no way that those numbers could last, right? Remember when they were one of the best rotations early in the season, and we talked about like a bunch of guys they just threw together. Maybe there's something brewing up there. Maybe they got the right pitching coach or the right voices, and it was just a matter of time. It was just a matter of time. And the offense is fine, but if they struggle at all with that pitching staff, you're just going to keep falling down. They need reinforcements badly. I don't know if that's just being patient while Manaea and Senga get themselves strong and ramped up more. I don't know if that's Paul Blackburn coming back. I don't know if that's Tyler McGill coming back. But do any of those names excite you?
No.
And
Nope.
pitching's the most important thing when it comes to the postseason. So they have the bats to get it done. If one of those pitchers can get hot, they have the bats to get it done. We know what Alonso can do. We know what Lindor and Soto and Nimmo, even what those guys can do in that lineup. So they have the top end bats to get it done without the starting pitching, but they need to survive to that point. We talked big about how the Phillies had a black hole at the 5th starting spot last season. If you have a black hole at 3, 4, and 5, you're not going to survive to October. It's been a really rough go for them lately, and they need these guys to either get strong or they need McGill and Blackburn to come off red hot off the IL, because it is dire straits up in Citi Field right now.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good pull by you. You are a writer at the end of the day, so you do nice work. As far as the wild card standings, again, way too early, but yet, as I said, the market is the market, and it intrigues me. Reds currently behind the Mets. St. Louis Cardinals, 4 games. Diamondbacks, 5.5. Giants, 5.5. Miami Marlins still hanging in there. 58-62 on the season. The Marlins 6 games back. Wow. If you would have told me the Marlins are going to have a better season than the Braves, I would have been like, dude, give me some of that. What are you on, man? But yeah, they're much better than the Braves. The Reds are the team. The better manager, some good pop in the lineup, good pitching. I think the Reds could potentially spell disaster for the Mets to miss the playoffs if they were to lose to a team. Now, I'm not trying to put dirt on the Cardinals, the Diamondbacks, the Giants, potentially. Again, it comes down to the schedule. What do they have left? And we're not going to go through that math right now, that exercise here. But, man, that would be a hell of a storyline if the Mets choked in what was – look, I know we got a long way to go. I've said it 100 times. But remember, these two teams between the Mets and Phillies have exchanged first place like 12 times this season. And now all of a sudden in the last 2 weeks, the Mets have just gone south. 2-12 in their last 14. And like you said, man, what's really hurting them is finally catching up to them. It's something that we talked about preseason all the way in the beginning of the year. The fact that the starting pitching, I could not believe was as good as it was. And here it is. It's definitely hurting them. So I definitely like that number at plus 225 to miss the playoffs, and that's a bet that everybody in Philadelphia could get behind too as well.
Oh, yeah. That number will go down just because the influx of bets on that now that we put it out there. So,
all right, we got Kyle Fisher with us here. Yeah, Major League Baseball, big storylines happening right now. Only a few games as far as tonight is concerned in the world of professional baseball. But Skubal's on the mound, and he had a bad start, so that's one thing that I would look at. As far as his strikeouts, I do think that the Twins are ripe for the picking as well. But the big one for us here, of course, is the Phillies and the Nationals. Once again, minus 199, Luzardo getting the start. Actually, the Mets are in action this evening. I apologize. Senga on the mound, minus 181. Wow. Elder and the Braves at plus 148. You're out of your mind if you're laying minus 181 with the Mets. Now watch, they'll win 6-0, whatever it is.
yeah, right.
But that's a bad team right now, and all you have to do is look what took place last night. They were up 6-0 and they lost 11-6. Like
Was it a 9-run inning from the Braves?
That's all you need to know. All right, I'm trying to think anything else as far as Major League Baseball. I don't really want to waste too much time, but like the National League MVP, it's fun to have that conversation, but the odds are just so much in Shohei's favor. I think they might need to change the award to Shohei. It's just tough to vote against that guy if he's going to go out there pitching. And I know he hasn't been successful, but that just adding that layer into the conversation, Schwarber is just, it's got no shot.
Yeah, they're both DHs at the end of the day, but when you add in the fact that this guy's going to put the bat down after the first inning and then go warm up in the tunnel and go out there and give you 102 mile an hour with 16-inch vertical movement on a sinker inside on a guy, like it's, what are you supposed to do? Now, I've said that if his ERA pitching this year was like 6.5, throw it out the window, right? I don't care if you can do both. Great, you're bringing more value to your team by doing 2 jobs in one, but if you suck at one, then it doesn't matter. Yeah. But he's really good at both. So it's like, it's hard to, even if he was average at one and incredible at the other one, it'd be really tough to make that decision. So he's only getting stronger. He's basically doing I think his first couple outings, he was 1 inning. He was basically doing his rehab on the mound as a pitcher, and he's only getting stronger. So we'll see what happens. If he can stay healthy and do both the rest of the season, there's no reason to think that he won't win it outright, probably unanimously again, no matter how good Schwarber is.
Yeah, I liked their approach. I thought that was very interesting the way they went about it. You know, the coolest thing about Shohei, though, is, you know, believe me, not the stuff that's taking place off the field, but like you said, it's not cool. It's like, dude, what are we doing right now, Shohei? You're getting some terrible advice. You're making buku amounts of money everywhere, and like his name is being drugged through the mud every which way. It's like, dude, like, come on, man. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Anyways, putting that to the side. One of the cooler things that I like is to see him, like you just said, when he is pitching, he's not a prima donna by no means. Like, that dude is business. And when he's pitching and hitting, he literally will walk right to the dugout, boom, gets his gloves right to the on deck circle. Like, it, you know, it's just funny. You would think it'd be a little bit more flashy, but it's not. That dude is just straight business. And you got to respect him. He's a hell of a talent. One of the best players we've ever seen play the game. No doubt about it. But
yeah, that really cool camera angle of seeing him like walk off the mound in a home game. He strikes out the last batter, and he never even goes in the dugout. He gets down, starts taking putting all his pads on, and he's watching the guy warm up and talking to the coach at the same time. Like, it's like you said, it's all business, and that's what you have to do to be great. You know, he's not about flash. He's about being the best player he can be, and it's darn effective because the guy's incredible.
No, it's got a very Little League World Series vibe, right?
Yeah.
You know, as we're watching that's on the TV. It's pretty cool to see that. It's like these kids go out there, but it's Shohei Ohtani at a professional level. All right, enough of that. Let's talk some football, all right? Because football season is here. Shifting gears. Let's get on over to the Birds, Kyle.
Let's do it.
Your big takeaway, anything from the preseason game one? Of course, the quarterback went out there and looked pretty good. Tanner McKee. Secondary, not so much. I want to give a lot of respect to Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, but man, Ringo, like, what are you doing? He was brutal. And I don't think he's that bad. I would imagine he's going to have a better showing. But man, if they were expecting him to play a significant role in this defense this year, after that performance, I'd have to look like, all right, maybe we need to make some moves here. And I know they did. They traded for a cornerback, of course, with the Raiders 2 weeks ago, whatever it is. But where are you at right now? Your big takeaways preseason game one, if any.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing that stuck out was Ringo. A lot of people spoke about how he just did not have a good performance. And yes, he was playing against some of the starters early on. But we talked about before how they're mixing and matching and changing a lot of things in that secondary out of necessity. They have a lot of changes, but you're trying guys at different positions. You're bringing in some new players. They just traded for a cornerback. That is going to be we're going to have to feel it out and see what fits best scenario. And that kind of showed itself. I did like what we saw from Tanner McKee. I did like what we saw from Johnny Wilson and Will Shipley as well.
Oh, yeah.
Both of those guys looked strong. Those are depth pieces that you need to survive an NFL season. Guys get bumps and bruises. If you can give Devontae and AJ a little bit of a break here and there because you have faith in Johnny Wilson, that's exciting to me. And then we talked about how important Shipley's going to be to help spell Saquon a little bit, because it's not about the regular season for him. It's about, can he be strong and healthy going into the postseason, especially after the year he had last year. So seeing those two really go off in the game made me feel good. The biggest takeaway, just for me, because I think there was so much change on the defensive end, was that struggle from Ringo. What's that secondary going to look like? I did like what we saw from the linebackers, and they're only going to get stronger there. So biggest takeaway would be Ringo. After that, I really like what I saw from Johnny Wilson to give some depth to that position, especially since AJ's not quite ready yet.
Yeah, look, 6'6" frame. Kid's a beast. I love the timeline. It's so good having football season back. The timeline was so active. I got people like Rick McClay telling me that McKee and Johnny Wilson can win a Super Bowl. Like, this is what I'm talking about right now. No, but again, it's preseason. But the thing I would say about McKee is, like, this isn't a fluke, right? Like, we've seen him play well in regular season, albeit against the Cowboys and Giants last year, but still. Like, those were big games, big spots for him. So I'm not going to slight those performances. Preseason last year, he looked good. So he goes out there. And I mean, the big takeaway for me was the fact of how he was able to process the defense, and it was probably very vanilla, but he went through his reads, his progressions, and he was finding receivers and putting the ball in the money. So, like, this dude is for real. And I think Howie could potentially dangle him out there for the right price. I wouldn't be mad, but also at the same time, it's a guy that I would definitely like to have backing up Jalen for the rest of the season. Where are you at with that outlook? Am I out of my mind, or maybe a little overvaluing him potentially for Howie Roseman, dangling him out there for other teams to bite?
No, I think that if you get an offer that you can't refuse, you obviously have to either take it or at least show a lot of interest in it. But I don't know if you actively shop him, right? You still want a strong backup in case Jalen needs a couple games off. And whether it be because they are winning or because he plays a rough style of play, he hasn't played every game the last couple seasons. So having someone that you can rely on as the backup is a valuable thing to have. And then on top of that, he can also provide more value potentially in a trade next offseason by doing exactly that, right? If he doesn't need to come in, whether it's because we're up big and they pull some of the starters out and he goes in the fourth quarter and shows out, or he fills in for a couple games if Jalen's banged up, or they at the end of the season, if they know that they have things wrapped up and they want to rest their starters. If he shows more this season against NFL level talent, that only adds to what you could potentially get for him. Unless you're trading him for a position player of need, which is very rare in the NFL. It's typically you're seeing a lot of picks being moved, or it's trading a guy for a salary dump, something like that, or bad contract for bad contract. You don't see a lot of players traded for another player of need in that moment. So if you have a situation like that, where somebody goes, "Hey, we have an injury, we're going to give you a high second rounder or a first rounder right now," then obviously you jump at it. But I think the value to developing him is that he's there in case you need him, and you can talk about potential trades in the offseason. I think he knows the offense well enough. I know that everybody's learning it. Jalen's learning it. It's a new wrinkles to the offense, but to have him in-house already, I think that is where his value is going to be maximized.
All right. So preseason game 2, a little bit of a dud with the news with Shedeur. Yeah, I was going to a preseason game.
What do they have? 4 injured quarterbacks now? Is it going to be Joe Flacco for 4 quarters? I don't.
Actually, Gabriel's going to play.
Okay.
So, yeah, okay. Gabriel's in. He's going to start. Shedeur will not play at all. It still interests me a little bit from the Gabriel perspective, but I was gonna go check out Shedeur, no doubt, man. Like, I'm hoping the kid's good. I'm hoping he gets some play. I'm hoping he's the guy. It would be great.
And especially like he's a guy who would wear that chip. Like, yeah, I fell all that way, and look at what I'm doing now. Like he would ride that thing to promotion. He would ride that thing to sponsorship deals, and he would ride it to success. That's the big thing. It's funny that we're talking about Shedeur. I watched the special that ESPN did on his dad, where he tried to play 2 sports in one day. And all of his cockiness, I remember a lot of people told me, he's just this cocky guy. He worked his tail off. He earned being that cocky. And Shedeur is doing the same thing. I don't think that from everything that I've heard about the Browns, and I don't have anybody tuned in there, but everything I've read about the Browns is his work ethic is just as good as anybody else's. And he just happens to have a little bit of a swagger to him because he's a Sanders. That's it. It's not I have swagger that's unearned. He goes out there and he proves it time and time again. He got so much better in college as he progressed. I would be excited for the kid as a neutral party to see him get some run this year and maybe take that job.
Right there with you. And we're talking about a Browns team that has the worst win total coming into the season. Expectations are at an absolute low. I'm not saying Shedeur needs to start week 1. That's not what I was saying at all. And I think people are out of their minds suggesting so. You got Flacco. Stick to that plan. Flacco is going to get in there. It's not the end of the season if Flacco starts the season off 0-3, and you got to go to Shedeur. However, starting Shedeur and then having him get beat up and the team going 0-3, that's not your best action. I don't think that's the best course. Now, again, he's hurt, so it kind of makes life a little easier on that decision. But if he went out there week 2 against the Eagles, had success, I don't know how they were not going to start him in week 1. I really don't. Again, there's no expectations at all. And to sit there and look your fan base in the eye, go, yeah, we're going to stick with Joe Flacco when Shedeur goes out there and throws 2 touchdown passes, whatever it is. I just think, and then the attitude and the fact that, like, he rejuvenate or just like the team vibes with him and really, he raises him up. Like I could see the image in my mind of like they win 2 games and then next, they're all walking in and they're bumping his music and like, you never know. Those are the vibes that like could raise some things up for a team again with 0 expectations. Football season is here, Kyle Fisher. Are you ready to go? Where you got? You got Green Bay week 1, correct?
Yes, sir. Detroit at Green Bay should be a fun one.
Oh, who you got winning that division?
I mean, I've had Detroit the whole time. I think that they're the second best team in the NFC. So for me, it's Detroit easily. If they can, even if they stay half as healthy, which would still be a lot of injuries as they were last season, they're easily the second best team. So for me, I got to go them until Minnesota proves differently. And if JJ McCarthy comes out and he's incredible, maybe that's a different story because they have a great defense and some weapons on that offense. But I'm going with who's proven it to this point, and I'm going Detroit.
Oh, so good to have football back in our lives. Kyle Fisher, once again. Be sure to follow Kyle Fisher 45. You can find him at the Philly Sports Network. What do you got cooking up over there?
Nothing cooking up at the moment. I'm probably going to do a little piece on Nick Castellanos that we just mentioned. I do have some news that dropped today. I'm not going to be a lead writer like I am for the Phillies, but I will be helping out the Sixers team this season. So Sixers schedule just dropped.
Schedule dropped. How about
sir.
That?
I'll be helping out the Sixers squad over there. So I'll be real close buddies with Sean Bernard the rest of the season as a partner covering the teams.
Like yeah, we got taking on Boston. That's right. Julian did say that. So they open up the season on the road at Boston.
Yes, sir.
I'll pass on the Sixers news right now. Football season. Pass?
Probably a Casty piece coming up. So look out.
Yeah, man. He's got to deliver. We'll see what happens tonight. Hopefully the Phillies get back on the winning ways, and we'll be following you on all things socials, of course, reading you over at the Philly Sports Network. Bang up job as always here, Kyle. Good luck on all those plays. If you place any of those wagers, if not, we'll catch up down the road. But always great to get you on today, sir.
Thank you, sir. Talk to you next week.
My man, there he is, Kyle Fisher, once again on the Gambler stream. All right, keeping it moving. We have some pretty cool things that are taking place in Camden this weekend. Now, WWE is coming on Monday, and when wrestling comes to town, it's like a circus. They all travel in, and these side shows happen all over the city and surrounding areas. Well, there's one that's happening in Camden, which is pretty cool. The main promoter, Reggie, he is going to join me talking about unfinished business, Super Gorillas Wrestling. You got former AEW wrestlers, stars of SGW, all that and more. It's going down at Harrison Park. Belt time at 5 p.m. on Saturday. Reggie's going to join me on the other side. Then some college football conversation. Myself, Beef, Tansy, and Mark Henry Jr., where we snake draft the national champion. Got that coming your way, followed by Swing It and Ding It, a brand new episode where Moose is going to talk about our fantastic trip yesterday to Bayonne. What a day it was. So don't touch that dial. Keep it locked right here to the Gambler. And as always, if you miss anything, you can find us online at foxphlgambler.com. Tell a friend, let them know we are here. Doing big things this football season. Don't touch that dial. More after this.
From Tuscaloosa to the Big House, Saturdays start here.
Howard flips it. Smith's got it, and the freshman just launches in as the Buckeyes score.
Your home for all things college football coverage. It's the Gambler.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival.